Big update for Canadian seniors. A new 2026 law is about to change how benefits and pensions work, and it could directly affect your monthly payments. Stay tuned to find out what's changing and how it impacts you. Today, on October 13, 2025. It's important to look ahead at changes that could affect your financial well-being. A significant shift is on the horizon for many seniors in Manitoba, and it involves something most of us use every day: our cars. The provincial government has introduced a new piece of legislation known as Bill 49. This proposed law, officially called the Manitoba Public Insurance Corporation Amendment Act, is set to make a major change to how car insurance premiums are calculated. If it passes as expected, the new rules will be locked in starting in 2026, creating a new reality for vehicle owners across the province. This isn't just a minor tweak to your annual bill. It's a fundamental change in philosophy. This new law directly impacts the auto insurance system, managed by Manitoba Public Insurance, the province's public insurer. For years, there has been a debate about the fairest way to set insurance rates. Should the person who owns the car be the main factor, or should it be the person who actually drives it most often? Bill 49 firmly chooses the former, legally cementing an owner-based insurance model. This means that the insurance premium for a vehicle will be primarily determined by the driving record of its registered owner, regardless of who else might be getting behind the wheel. For seniors with decades of safe driving experience, this might sound reasonable at first, but the details reveal a more complex picture. The introduction of Bill 49 is a significant event because it overrides previous recommendations from an important regulatory body. For several years, the Public Utilities Board, which is tasked with overseeing MPI and protecting consumers, has been advising a move in the opposite direction. The PUB has repeatedly ordered MPI to prepare for a driver-based system, arguing it would be a more accurate and equitable way to assess risk. This new legislation, however, puts a stop to that conversation. It essentially makes the current owner-based system the permanent law of the land, preventing any future switch to a model based on individual driver records without new legislation. For many older Manitobans, this change could have a direct and noticeable impact on their household budgets. It raises important questions about fairness, affordability, and how we share costs as a society. While the government frames this as a move to help certain groups, critics are raising alarms about the potential for it to unfairly burden seniors. Understanding what this law means, why it's being introduced, and what you can do to prepare is crucial. In the following sections, we will break down the details in simple terms, explore both sides of the argument, and offer some practical advice to help you navigate this changing landscape with confidence. To understand the impact of Bill 49, we first need to get clear on what an owner-based insurance model really is. Think of it this way: the insurance policy is tied more to the car itself than to the people who drive it. When Manitoba Public Insurance calculates your premium, its main focus is on the registered owner of the vehicle. It looks at your driving record, your claims history, and your experience. If you, the owner, have a long history of safe driving with no accidents or tickets, you will generally receive a good rating and a lower premium. This system is straightforward and has been the standard in Manitoba for a long time. The complication arises when the owner is not the only person, or even the main person, driving the car. In many families, a single vehicle is shared among several people. Imagine a retired couple, John and Mary, who own a car. John is the registered owner and has a perfect driving record spanning 50 years. However, their 18-year-old grandson, David, who just got his license, occasionally uses their car to get to his part-time job. In a pure owner-based system, the insurance premium is largely based on John's excellent record. The risk associated with David, a new and statistically higher risk driver, is not the primary factor in the calculation. The premium reflects the owner, not all the drivers. This is where the concept gets tricky and why critics argue it creates hidden subsidies. The risk that David brings when he drives the car doesn't just disappear, it's spread out across the entire pool of insured drivers in the province. In effect, other drivers with safe records are helping to cover the potential costs associated with higher-risk individuals who are not the primary policyholders. The owner-based model simplifies paperwork because MPI only needs to rate one person, the owner. However, it also means the price you pay for insurance may not accurately reflect the true risk of who is actually using your vehicle on a day-to-day basis. In contrast, a driver-based model, the alternative favored by the Public Utilities Board, would require you to list all the regular drivers of your vehicle. The insurance premium would then be calculated as a blend of everyone's individual driving records. In the case of John, Mary, and David, the premium would be based on John's great record, but also adjusted to account for David's inexperience. This would likely result in a higher premium for their specific vehicle, but it would more accurately reflect the real risk. Bill 49 prevents this kind of system from being implemented, locking in the owner-based model where the owner's record is what matters most. The practical effect of solidifying the owner-based model through Bill 49 is that it can create winners and losers, and the math often works against seniors who share their vehicles. Let's return to our example of John and Mary. They are retired, live on a fixed income, and have maintained a spotless driving record for decades, earning them the highest safety rating. Under the current system, which Bill 49 will make permanent, their premium is relatively low. However, their grandson David, a new driver, uses their car. If David gets into an accident, the claim goes against John's policy. This could cause John's premium to increase significantly and erase his long-held safety discount, even though he wasn't the one driving. Now, let's consider the alternative scenario that Bill 49 prevents. In a driver-based system, John and Mary would have to list David as a secondary driver on their policy. Their premium would be higher from the start because it would factor in the risk of an inexperienced teenager. While this means a bigger bill for their household, it also means the cost is assigned directly to the source of the risk. Proponents of this model argue it is fairer because it forces families to bear the true cost of their high-risk drivers. It prevents the cost of David's potential accidents from being subsidized by other safe drivers across the province who don't have a teenager using their car. The financial shift becomes even clearer when we look at it from the perspective of a young driver. Imagine David's friend, Sarah, who is also 18. Her parents buy her own car, and it is registered in her name. As a new driver with no established record, Sarah would face a very high premium under any system. However, under the owner-based model that Bill 49 enforces, the financial incentive is for Sarah's parents to register her car in their name instead. If her father, who has a perfect record, is the registered owner, the premium will be dramatically lower than if Sarah were the owner. This is a common practice that keeps costs down for families with young drivers. This is the core of the issue. The owner-based system creates a situation where experienced, low-risk drivers can end up subsidizing younger, high-risk ones. Critics of Bill 49 argue that it forces seniors, who are statistically among the safest drivers, to carry an unfair portion of the financial burden. While it might lower costs for a family with a teenager who can be insured on a parent's policy, it raises the overall risk in the system. That increased risk is then spread across everyone's base rates, meaning even a senior who doesn't share their car might see their premiums creep up over time to cover the costs generated by others. When a government introduces a law like Bill 49, it's important to understand its stated goals. The Manitoba government, led by the NDP, has presented this legislation primarily as an affordability measure. They argue that maintaining the owner-based system is crucial for helping specific groups of people who might otherwise struggle with the high cost of car insurance. Their focus is on making vehicle ownership more accessible for young people, families with new drivers, and newcomers to the province. By allowing a parent to be the registered owner of a car driven by their child, for example, the family can avoid the sky-high premiums that would come with insuring a teenager as a primary driver. The government and Manitoba Public Insurance also emphasize the simplicity and convenience of the current system. They claim that the owner-based model is what Manitobans are used to and what they prefer. It avoids the administrative complexity of tracking multiple drivers for every single vehicle. For MPI, it's a more streamlined process to assess risk based on one individual, the owner, rather than creating complex profiles for every household. This simplicity, they argue, helps keep administrative costs down, which in turn helps keep overall insurance rates lower for everyone. The argument is that moving to a driver-based system would be a complicated and expensive overhaul. Another key group the government aims to support are newcomers to Canada. When a person immigrates to Manitoba, they arrive without a Canadian driving record. In a strict driver-based system, these individuals would be treated like brand new drivers and could face extremely high insurance costs, creating a significant barrier to getting established. The owner-based system offers a workaround. For instance, a newcomer might live with a family member who is already established and has a good driving record. By registering the vehicle in the established relative's name, the newcomer can access affordable insurance while they build their own Canadian driving history. The government sees this as a vital tool for economic integration. Finally, the government's position is that this law provides stability and predictability. By legally mandating the owner-based system, Bill 49 puts an end to the long-standing debate and the back and forth with the Public Utilities Board. This creates a clear and permanent set of rules that everyone can understand and plan around. In their view, this certainty is better for consumers than the possibility of a major, disruptive change to a driver-based model. They frame Bill 49 not as a radical new direction, but as a way of cementing a familiar system that, from their perspective, has served the majority of Manitobans well by balancing costs and keeping insurance accessible. On the other side of the debate are, numerous critics who view Bill 49 as a step backward, arguing that it sacrifices fairness for the sake of convenience and targeted affordability. The central criticism is that the owner-based model is fundamentally inequitable. It forces one group of people, low-risk drivers, a category that includes a large number of seniors, to subsidize the costs generated by another group, high-risk drivers. Critics argue that insurance premiums should reflect as closely as possible the actual risk someone represents. When a safe driving senior pays a premium that is inflated to help cover accidents caused by teenagers, the principle of fairness is broken. This issue of cross-subsidization is at the heart of the opposition. Groups like the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition have been, really vocal in their criticism, pointing out that seniors often live on fixed incomes and are more vulnerable to rising costs. Forcing them to pay more for insurance to make it cheaper for other demographics feels like an unfair financial burden. They argue that while helping young drivers is a worthy goal, it shouldn't be done on the backs of seniors. This is especially true for older individuals who do not have high-risk drivers in their households and are essentially being asked to pay for the choices of other families. Furthermore, critics point to the repeated recommendations of the Public Utilities Board, or PUB. Since 2017, the PUB has studied this issue extensively and has consistently concluded that a driver-based model is the fairer and more modern approach. The PUB is an independent, expert body designed to protect the public interest. For the government to introduce legislation that directly contradicts the PUB's expert advice is seen by many as a troubling move. It suggests that political considerations are being prioritized over sound regulatory principles and consumer fairness. Opponents of Bill 49 feel that the government is ignoring the very watchdog created to ensure the insurance system is equitable. Finally, there's an argument that the owner-based system creates a distorted sense of risk and responsibility. By allowing a high-risk driver to be insured cheaply under a low-risk owner's policy, the system masks the true cost of their driving behavior. In a driver-based model, the high premium associated with a new or reckless driver would be a clear and direct financial signal to the family. This could encourage more responsible driving habits, safer vehicle choices, and more conversations about road safety. Critics of Bill 49 say that by hiding this cost, the owner-based system may inadvertently discourage personal accountability and make the roads less safe for everyone in the long run. When a law like Bill 49 is proposed, it's essential to listen to the voices of those who will be most affected. Seniors advocacy groups across Manitoba have been quick to raise the alarm, expressing deep concern over the long-term consequences of this legislation. The Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition, for example, has been at the forefront of the opposition. They have publicly stated that Bill 49 is a direct blow to the financial security of older adults in the province. Their message is clear: the law is unfair, and it will force seniors with excellent driving records to pay more to subsidize riskier drivers, which is fundamentally unjust. These advocacy groups emphasize that their members are not against helping young people or newcomers. Instead, they argue that the method chosen by the government is flawed. They believe that the cost of subsidizing certain drivers should be a shared societal responsibility, perhaps funded through general revenue, rather than being placed disproportionately on the shoulders of one demographic group. Forcing seniors, many of whom are on tight fixed incomes, to foot the bill is seen as poor public policy. They highlight the fact that many seniors have spent a lifetime contributing to the public insurance system through their safe driving, and they feel this law penalizes them for it. Experts in consumer protection and insurance regulation have also weighed in, often siding with the critics. They point out that the global trend in the insurance industry is towards more personalized and accurate risk assessment. Technologies like telematics, which monitor actual driving habits, are becoming more common. A move to legally lock in a simplistic, owner-based model is seen as a step away from modernization and fairness. These experts echo the Public Utilities Board's findings, stating that a driver-based system, while more complex to administer, ultimately creates a more transparent and equitable marketplace where premiums are aligned with behavior. The personal stories from seniors themselves add a powerful human element to the debate. Many have contacted their political representatives and advocacy groups to share their worries. A common story is that of a widow in her 80s who drives very little but relies on her car for essential trips to the doctor and grocery store. She has a perfect driving record. Her fear is that her already tight budget will be squeezed further by rising insurance costs that have nothing to do with her own driving. These personal testimonies underscore the real-world impact of Bill 49, transforming it from an abstract policy debate into a kitchen table issue affecting the daily lives of thousands of older Manitobans. While the primary concern for many has been the potential negative impact on seniors, it is also important to acknowledge the groups that the government says Bill 49 is designed to help teenagers and newcomers. For a family with a newly licensed teenager, the cost of car insurance can be a significant financial shock. Premiums for an 18-year-old male driver in particular can be several $1,000s per year if they are the primary driver on their own policy. The owner-based system provides a way to manage this expense. By keeping the vehicle registered in a parent's name, the family's insurance bill remains manageable, making it possible for the teen to drive. This affordability is a major reason why some families support the owner-based model. It allows young people to gain driving experience, get to school or a job, and participate more fully in community life without imposing a crippling financial burden on the household. The government argues that this is a net positive for society as it promotes mobility and economic activity among young people. Without this option, many families might simply be unable to afford to let their children drive, which could limit their opportunities. Bill 49, by making this system permanent, ensures that this avenue for cost savings remains available for families with young drivers. Similarly, newcomers to Manitoba face unique challenges when it comes to car insurance. Without a driving history that is recognized by MPI, they are often classified as new drivers, regardless of their experience in their home country. This can lead to prohibitively high insurance premiums. The owner-based system offers a practical solution. A new immigrant can be listed as a driver on a vehicle owned by a relative or friend who has an established Manitoba driving record. This provides them with access to affordable transportation, which is often essential for finding work, settling their family, and integrating into their new community. Bill 49 preserves this important pathway. However, it is this very benefit that critics call a hidden subsidy. The lower premiums for teenagers and newcomers do not mean the risk has vanished. It is simply redistributed across the entire pool of insured drivers. So, while a specific family with a new driver benefits from a lower bill, all other drivers in Manitoba, including seniors, may see their base rates rise slightly to cover the overall cost of claims from this higher risk group. The debate, therefore, is not about whether to help these groups, but about how to do so. Bill 49 chooses a method that helps some at the potential expense of others, creating a complex ripple effect across the province. With Bill 49 expected to become law and take effect in 2026, seniors and their families in Manitoba should start thinking about how to prepare. The first step is to gain a clear understanding of your own household situation. Review your car insurance policy and be honest about who drives your vehicle. If you are a senior and you are the only person who ever drives your car, the direct impact of this law might be minimal at first, though you may see gradual rate increases over time as the system absorbs more risk. The biggest impact will be on seniors who share their car with a higher risk driver, like a grandchild or a newly licensed child. If you do have a high-risk driver using your vehicle, you need to be aware of the increased vulnerability of your own driving record and insurance rate. Since the policy is in your name, any at-fault accident or traffic violation by that other driver will go on your record. This could lead to a sudden and dramatic increase in your premiums and the loss of any long-term safe driving discounts you have earned. Have a frank conversation with any family members who drive your car about the importance of road safety and the financial consequences of an incident. It might be wise to set clear rules about when and how the car can be used. Financially, it's a good time to review your budget and plan for potential increases in your auto insurance costs. While no one can predict the exact amount, it is prudent to assume that rates may climb. Look for other areas where you might be able to save money to offset a potential hike in your MPI bill. You can also contact Manitoba Public Insurance directly to discuss your policy. Ask for a review of your current rating and ensure you are receiving all the discounts you are entitled to. While you cannot change the owner-based system, you can make sure your own file is as accurate and favorable as possible within that system. Finally, stay informed and consider making your voice heard. Even if Bill 49 passes, public opinion still matters. You can write to your member of the Legislative Assembly to express your concerns about fairness for seniors. You can also support advocacy groups that are working on this issue. Beyond this specific bill, it's always a good practice for seniors to periodically reevaluate their transportation needs. As circumstances change, you might find that alternatives like public transit, ride-sharing services, or community transportation programs for seniors could supplement or even replace the need for a personal vehicle, reducing your reliance on an insurance system you feel is unfair. As we look toward 2026, Bill 49 is set to chart a firm and unchanging course for auto insurance in Manitoba. By legally entrenching the owner-based model, the legislation effectively ends a years-long debate and overrides the expert advice of the Public Utilities Board. For seniors, this means the system of cross-subsidization, where their safe driving records help lower the costs for higher-risk drivers, will become a permanent feature of the landscape. The immediate future will likely involve a period of adjustment as the financial effects become clearer. Seniors who share vehicles with younger family members will need to be especially vigilant about protecting their driving records. Over the medium term, the key thing to watch will be MPI's annual rate applications. While the government promotes the owner-based system for its affordability, critics argue it may lead to higher overall system costs in the long run. If accidents and claims from high-risk drivers increase, those costs must be covered. This could lead to larger and more frequent requests for rate hikes that affect every driver in the province. Seniors, even those with perfect records who live alone, could find their premiums steadily increasing year after year to cover a risk pool that they feel they are unfairly subsidizing. The promise of affordability for some could translate into rising costs for all. The passage of Bill 49 may also have broader implications for the relationship between the government, its crown corporations, and independent regulatory bodies. The decision to legislate against the consistent recommendations of the PUB could set a precedent, raising questions about the role of expert oversight in protecting consumers in other regulated sectors. Advocacy groups will likely continue to challenge the fairness of the law, and the issue could resurface in future provincial elections. The debate over how to balance affordability, fairness, and personal responsibility is a fundamental one, and it is unlikely to disappear completely. For now, the path forward for Manitoba seniors is one of awareness and preparation. Understanding that your insurance premium is linked to your vehicle, not just your own driving, is the first step. Having open conversations with family, carefully managing who uses your car, and budgeting for potential cost increases are practical measures everyone can take. While the system itself may be changing, the principles of safe, responsible driving remain the most powerful tool any individual has. As we move into this new era of auto insurance in Manitoba, staying informed and proactive will be the best way to navigate the road ahead.